How do I control wild violets? What is this weed growing in my grass? And how do I kill wild strawberries? I've got answers to these questions and more coming up on Garden Sense. Hey everybody, I'm Tim Ward and welcome back to Garden Sense. Well, folks, it's no secret that for the past 5 or 6 weeks, our email has been blowing up with questions about overseeding. And this week was really no different. I've definitely gotten a number of questions about overseeding, but things have sort of transitioned a little bit because most, I would say 75% of the emails that we received this past week dealt with killing weeds. And so today's video podcast is going to deal strictly with killing weeds that you're going to find in your lawn. So I have 5 questions that we'd like to deal with today. So buckle up, everybody. Let's jump right in. The first question is from Melina. Tim, what is this weed in my grass? It's light green and a thick mat. It grows short, kind of the height of my zoysia grass. So thank you for sending in a picture. That really helps a lot. This weed is actually called Nimble Will, and I've actually had a number of emails over the last couple of weeks with people wondering how to kill it. I'll be honest with you, it's not an easy thing to kill because most weed killers simply won't touch it. However, there is one out there that works really well, and it's called Tenacity. Tenacity will kill the Nimble Will, along with a variety of other grassy and broadleaf weeds. It's an expensive product. We actually do not carry it over at rosensonline.com, but it's relatively easy to find if you go out and do, a quick Google search or something like that. So make sure that you pick up some Tenacity. It comes in a small bottle. It's pretty expensive, but it works really, really well, and it will absolutely help you eradicate Nimble Will. The next question is from Julie. Hi, Tim. In an attempt to cut back English ivy, I ran into a 3-leaflet weed/vine that is growing in the ivy. Do you know what the name of the weed is and whether it's poisonous? Note that it also has thorns on its stem. So this isn't actually a weed in the traditional sense anyway, although it can be invasive. I'm pretty sure what you're actually dealing with is a blackberry bush. Now, blackberries obviously are edible, but if it's growing in the middle of your English ivy, and your English ivy is a plant that you really want to take care of and maintain, then you're absolutely going to want to rip out the bush. Now, if you're not concerned about the English ivy, then blackberries are actually really beautiful plants. Obviously, they're going to produce blackberries. Those are edible. However, they also can produce these really beautiful white flowers on them. So again, if it's nestled back in the woods or along your tree line, it can actually be a really kind of fun plant to have growing there. But I'll be honest with you, they spread really, really quickly. So if you're going to leave it, just be prepared that in the coming years, it's going to spread quite a bit. It's going to take over a lot of that English ivy, and that English ivy is also going to start climbing up inside of it. So again, if you're going to keep it, you're totally fine. If you want to get rid of it to protect the English ivy, then you're going to want to pull it up now, because by this time next year, that plant could easily, triple, quadruple in size. The third question for today is from Gary. Tim, sorry to say that your new weed killer did not touch my wild strawberries. They continue to grow wildly. Do you have a suggestion on what I can use on the strawberries? So I'm assuming that you're talking about Image All-in-One Weed Killer. And if you are, then you're 100% right. It will not kill wild strawberries. It kills hundreds of various types of broadleaf weeds. Obviously, it kills crabgrasses, sedges, things like that. But oddly enough, it will not kill wild strawberries. To kill wild strawberries, you need a product with the active ingredient 2,4-D or possibly some Mecoprop P acid. So in terms of those two ingredients, what we'd actually recommend would be Weed-Free Zone. This is a product that's available over at Rosens Online, and yes, it does list wild strawberries as one of the weeds that it will kill. So I'm sorry that you tried Image All-in-One. It's not designed to kill wild strawberries, but the weed-free zone is, we really like weed-free zone. It's a very, very solid product. And again, it's available over at rosensonline.com. The fourth question for today is from Scott. Tim, I would like to perform the new process for killing weeds and seeding you outlined a few weeks ago on the podcast. What results will I get from only using the Image all-in-one product versus using the suggested 4-to-1 ratio with the Image product? So when it comes to overseeding, there is actually a pretty significant difference between just using Image versus using Image and the wilt-proof mixture that we've talked about in our overseeding process. If you use the mixture, you're actually going to be able to overseed within a couple of days of applying the herbicide. If you don't use the wilt-proof with the Image and you just use Image by itself, it's still going to kill all of the weeds in your lawn, but you're going to have to wait 4 weeks before you can safely overseed. And the reason for that is actually really, really simple. See, the wilt-proof allows the Image to stick to the leaves, the blades of grass, and so the chemicals involved in Image never make it down to the soil surface. If you just use the Image alone, yes, some of it is absolutely going to stick on the grass and the weeds and things like that, but a lot of it's actually going to run off and get down to the soil. When it reaches the soil, those chemicals will actually kill any of the seed. It's going to frankly destroy the germinating process of the new grass that you're trying to plant. So that's why it's really important that you use it with the wilt-proof if you're going to follow this process. Now, if I don't know where you're emailing from, so if you're down south and you can go ahead and you know that you've still got another couple of months to overseed your lawn, then fine, you can absolutely just use the Image product by itself, wait 4 weeks, and then start your overseeding process. But my guess is you don't live too far south of here, and what you're gonna wanna do is, really at this point, you need to make a choice. Either you're gonna use the wilt-proof and the Image mixture to follow the overseeding process, or just go ahead and use the Image product as a standalone, kill all the weeds in your grass, but don't do the overseeding, because again, we're getting to a point now where it's going to be a little bit too late to safely get that new grass seed down and to make sure it's mature enough before that first frost sets in. The final question for today is from George. Tim, the most difficult and prevalent weed I have is wild violets. Is the Bonide product a good choice for them? Weed Be Gone does little on them even when applied in the early spring growing period. So Weed Beater Ultra is actually pretty effective at killing wild violets. I have personally used it on my lawn and I've had some success. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it killed all of them. What I would actually recommend you do is that if you're going to use Weed Beater Ultra, make sure that you get down 2 applications. And when you put it down in the spring, make sure that the violets are actively growing when you put it down. Now, if you have Weed Beater Ultra already, go ahead and use it. But if you need to go out and purchase a new product, I would frankly spend a couple of bucks more, and I would actually give the Image all-in-one weed killer a try. Folks, we are absolutely in love with this Image product. We have had so much success with it on a personal level, and outside of trying to kill weeds that it's not designed to kill, like in the question a couple of minutes ago about wild strawberries, this thing works really, really well. So again, if you have the Weed Beater Ultra on hand already, go ahead and use it. It'll work pretty well. Again, I have experience using that, but again, I've transitioned over to this Image all-in-one weed killer because of how effective it is, and I would really recommend that you spend a couple of extra bucks. Head over to Rosens Online and pick up the Image product. You'll be really glad you did. All right, everybody, just a couple final thoughts before we wrap up this week's video podcast. Folks, remember, over at rosensonline.com, we still have the Fall Feeding Frenzy promotion going on. Folks, it is time to give your lawn its 3rd feeding of Turf Truss fertilizers, and the Fall Feeding Frenzy is a great way to save on the product cost as well as get free shipping. As a reminder, they come in 3-bag bundles. You can get it for the maintenance fertilizer or the starter formula. You can get it in terms of the 10M size or the 5M size. Again, this is a great way to save not only on this feeding, but also looking ahead to the feeding that you're gonna have to give your lawn in November, which obviously is your 4th and final feeding of the season. So head over to rosensonline.com and take advantage of the fall feeding frenzy right now. Now, folks, we've been talking a lot about overseeding, and I realize that not everybody is going to be overseeding their lawn. So if you are not overseeding, then you really need to start thinking about getting down dimension as well as gallery on your lawn. Folks, these are amazing products for helping control weeds. And if you want to avoid having a bunch of weeds pop up in the springtime, you need to put down some dimension, put down some gallery right now. Remember, both of these products create a chemical barrier on the soil surface, and it's going to prevent most broadleaf weeds along with crabgrasses and things like that. It's a really effective way, frankly, a more offensive way to take on weeds without having to be reactive in the spring and to spray down what pops up. So put down gallery, put down dimension right now. They're both available over at Rosens Online. And then anything that you might miss, again, we've got a plethora of weed killers that you can use in the springtime. Folks, as always, we really appreciate the time that you spend with us and obviously all of the emails that you send our way. If you have questions, please send your email directly to me at tim@rosensonline.com. Give me a couple of days, but I promise that if I receive it, I will get back to you. Folks, I hope that you have an amazing rest of the week. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. God bless.